Later on TikTok and YouTube, I've been seeing a lot of people saying what is their top five, top 10 Power Ranger team. So I'm gonna give y'all my top 10. Number 10, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You cannot forget about the OGs that really started off this whole Power Ranger history, and my childhood favorite. When of course growing up, it was one of my best things. It was part of my childhood. Through the Dragon Zord, through the mighty the White Ranger, Tommy Oliver, everybody on this team definitely on this list. Number 9, I would have to say Wild Force. Wild Force is one of those teams that really changed up the color scheme. You know, it had another White Ranger, but it was a female, and then went back to black and stuff like that. Blue, I think red. Was it pink? No, right, white, whatever. I feel like that was one of the best things, and also I think one of the only teams that the Red Ranger had like a sentimental relationship or something type of relationship with his Zord, which I thought that was kind of cool. And the orb things they had in there was pretty cool with the whole when they transformed. Well, even though they had the thing, but they needed those orbs and they had those Zords inside of it. I thought it was pretty cool. Deserved to be on my list. Number 8, Lightspeed. I always love how the Rangers really had their own occupation before they was recruited to become a Ranger. You know, Red Ranger was a firefighter, the Pink Ranger was a medic, and the Yellow Ranger was I guess a rock climber, but she was extreme sports some type deal. And the Blue Ranger, you know, he was dealing with the whales and stuff like that. It was pretty cool, pretty nice. I also like the Queen Ventura, and the Titanium Ranger was one of the best things in that show as well. Number 7, Time Force. Anything with time in movies, in shows, it don't matter what it is, anime, whatever. I always love it. Now you put time, and Power Rangers together, which is just a cherry on top. This whole team was pretty cool dealing with the time and going back and forth, whatever. I like how the whole Zords was coming from the time, the whole transition of them getting their Zords and everything like that. Also, it was pretty cool when they had to go to a certain time because they got to they go back in time to get, because the Red Ranger was the only, you had to get the same, I think, blood or DNA to unlock the morpher so they can morph. It was pretty cool. So I like the whole dynamic what they had there. Number 6, Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm was kind of higher on my list. It shouldn't have been like in the top 3, but I pushed it down to number 6. But yeah, Ninja Storm was one of those teams. Was a team, of course. I think the first one that really started with 3 instead of going with the full 5 team, 5 team or a 6-man team. But I think there was also the team that only had the first team to really have like certain abilities. And the Red Ranger had air, Blue had water, and Earth. The Yellow Ranger had earth and stuff like that. And of course, if you add in the Thunder Brothers, the brothers they had thunder. So I think it was pretty cool to see them, you know, and who doesn't love ninjas, but they also had the abilities they can use without transforming, which is pretty dope. At number 5, Lost Galaxy. There's not really much that I can say about Lost Galaxy other than it was badass to see the Magnum Defender coming up and how everything was different in space and stuff like that. And I understand you had like in space Power Ranger team, but I think Lost Galaxy probably was so far as the best in space team. And that's not really much I can say. It was just one of those things I really fell in love with when I was a kid, and definitely Lost Galaxy was definitely my top 5. So Lost Galaxy was the first team that had a full team transformation, which with I guess I forgot the power of the Orion, if I remember correctly, but it was the first time they ever had a full team transformation instead of just the Red Ranger having his battleizer, and it was pretty dope. Magnum Defender once again was one of the another best six Ranger, and how the main Red Ranger's brother came in to replace the other Magnum Defender. It was probably one of the best things I seen when I was a kid. I was at awe when I saw a freaking black, basically Six Ranger basically had like a blicky, but turned into, I think it was an axe or something like that. It could turn to an axe or axe to a sword or to a gun, stuff like that. It was pretty cool. It was just one of the best things ever. Number 4, Dino Thunder. Honestly, the best thing that really came happening in that when Tommy Oliver finally came back, became become a Ranger, and when he's older age and stuff like that. So overall, everything like that, and I actually kind of like the trope, of course, and they had like the Blue Ranger's already nerd, but this one he was kind of more of like a video game nerd, and of course the Red Ranger, it was he's supposed to be a soccer player, stuff like that, and the Yellow Ranger was a singer. She doing her thing with that. So everything in the Dino Thunder was cool. Also, probably one of the best team transformations with the Hulk spikes coming out of their bodies when they come out. I thought it was kind of dope. It was kind of wacky, but it was pretty dope. But the Sixth Ranger, the White Ranger, the Right Dino Ranger was pretty dope. Probably the best. Honestly, I'll probably make another video, but probably the best Sixth Ranger in my opinion. Number 3, Mystic Force. Of course, magic. Anything, I love anime would have magic, fantasy and stuff like that. So you add magic, but Power Rangers, it was pretty dope. I actually like how the whole team, before they actually combined their Megazords or whatever, they was the team that really had those separate Megazords to control. That was pretty cool. Like, it wasn't like just straight up just animals all the time and stuff like that. They also had their own forms and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool, and they all had their own magical abilities and stuff like that. It was pretty dope. Number two, Jungle Fury. I love everything about Jungle Fury. I love how each one, like Casey the Red Ranger, was a green thumb. He didn't really know what's going on. He was just an apprentice, and somehow he got pushed into becoming the Red Ranger and the leader. So it was pretty dope seeing that, and seeing Casey become a badass and when learning more martial arts or whatever. And this one had a lot of Rangers. I think it had like 8 to 7 Rangers, if I remember correctly, because they had a shark, a bat, and something else. It wasn't an elephant, if I remember correctly, but all that was pretty dope. Best thing in that whole transformation, how they morph, was one of the best ones I like as well. Now, number one, my favorite of all Power Rangers, SPD. Now y'all might give me hate on for that one, but SPD, I don't know everything about SPD was just amazing to me as a kid. Like, the whole transformation that it had was a SWAT team was pretty dope. His battleizer was the Red Ranger's battleizer was pretty dope. And Kruger, and then his Shadow Ranger, and then he had the Orange Ranger, he had the Cat Ranger, everything like that. Everything in this was pretty dope. But I feel like this team the SPD team was the very first team that actually had like biological powers. The Red Ranger, Jack can go through walls, the Yellow Ranger can multiply, stuff like that. The Green Ranger had the whole force field thing. No, it was the force field thing? No, the Blue Ranger had the force field thing. The Green Ranger had some kind of clairvoyant type ability. But anyway, everything about SPD was amazing. The Omega Ranger, Shadow Ranger was really was up there. Wow, I can't. I like, even as an adult, I could watch it again. I probably watch it that season alone probably at least 15, 20 times in my life. But that's it. That's my number one. That's my list. You guys let me know who's your top 10 or top 5, or who's your best Ranger down below.